So why have a creation story? There's an old saying that goes, when you know where you come from, you have a better sense of where you're going. I think that's true personally, and it's true for the world and the state of the world now. Thomas Berry said, we're in trouble because we do not have a good story. The old story about how the world came to be and our place in it is no longer effective. And he went on to say that the challenge that we face is in creating a new sense of what it means to be human. The new sense of what it means to be human. There are tribal stories, creation myths, thousands of them, that often gave indigenous people their sense of who they were in the tribe, in the weave of the tribe. They knew their place, and they were able to keep the fabric and the connectivity of their tribal peoples together to sustain themselves and in relationship with the earth. But we don't have a functional story that's allowing that in the West. Our two creation myths basically evolve around Darwinism and creationism. Darwinism, in brief, being a sense of we're a random planet composed of random acts that gave life, when there's not a deep sense of meaning within Darwinism. There are some truths in Darwinism and natural selection and processes, but that spark of life, where we come from, never thoroughly been addressed. And creationism, on the other end of the spectrum, comes with so many beliefs about the creation that it's too veiled in a patriarchal structure for many people to accept. And it's clearly missing the feminine. And more are people, not from gender, but just from understanding the principles of masculine, feminine necessity in creating and generating life, want to see where is the feminine, want to feel that feminine imbalance in a creation story. The Nag Hammadi texts discovered in Egypt in 1945 revealed that there was a creation myth that was told for probably hundreds of years, 2,000 years ago, and that it was attributed to a feminine being, a feminine emanation named Sophia in these texts. And with the emergence of the Nag Hammadi library, more people since 1975 have been working with these texts originally written in Coptic and remembering a whole thread of Gnostic or direct knowing of this story and finding their place in it. So we're telling that story very briefly in this upcoming animation to help reseed a thread of story that was intentionally eliminated from Western thought. And by remembering that story, we hope to create in all of us a sense of why the feminine matters and how to take our place as humans and to create that sense of what does it mean to be a human on this living earth at this time, to restore the meaning that's available to us. So who is Sophia? How do we define that word? It's a very broad perspective. The easiest thing to say is the direct translation from the Greek, Sophia is wisdom. That's easy, it's a principle, it's an important principle. The other end of the spectrum, the Puranas, one of the old Hindu texts, refer to something called a phoneme from phonetic. It's like a seed mantra or a seed sound of creation. Robert Lawler shared this with me, that there is reference to soft as that which is the thought before the creation. And that struck me as quite profound. On that end of the spectrum, there's also a reference in Kabbalistic study to Ein Sof Hour, which is the first emanation of light in the creation. So that sound, that soft, Sophia, very, very key in this spectrum of identifying that this isn't just another story. It actually has ancient reference as a creative principle That's important to me because I want to understand as deeply as I can the nature of life and where we come from and how that gives me a context to be the fullest I can be in my life. There are other references to Sophia in alchemical texts as the prima materia, the first substance. Sophia shows up in the Songs of Solomon in the Bible. It's a presence, it's wisdom. I think of her as an emanation that goes from the planetary mother herself as Gaia Sophia to an essence in the creation of all that is. And then there's a lot in there in between. The discovery of Sophia is actually an individual one, and that's the beauty of working with the myth. We each get to create our sense of meaning in relation to her. Another essential definition of Sophia is that it's a means by which spirit takes form. A means by which spirit takes form. And that she carries the energy signature of matter, of mother, of mater. So if we think of us as being an aspect of Sophia herself, we then are also Sophia. Our life process is a Sophianic process. Also influenced by her counterpart, which the Gnostics spoke of as Christos. So it's a Christos-Sophia creation field that we live, breathe, work in, and co-create with. What is Gnosticism? Gnosticism, another one of those great words, has meant many things. In realm of definition, the word Gnostic relates to kenosis, gnosis, direct knowing, to jnana yoga. It's the knowing, it's the knowledge base. And Gnostic for me is generally going to be a small g. It's the reference to that form of being in direct experience with the creative source, as opposed to Gnostic with a capital G, which is really a way of looking at a whole kind of thought and thinking in a lineage. There were Gnostic schools that came through Alexandria and Valentinius, and different times the Cathars would be a Gnostic sect. We're not so much pursuing a line of dogma or belief around Gnostics with a capital G, but more exploring how to have a direct experience and a direct knowing of the divine that we are, to become that, to feel that, and to allow that to be what informs us in this relationship to a creation story and our place in the world, how to become a more effective human. Caitlin Matthews has a beautiful quote about Gnosticism. She says, "Pure gnosis is found wherever Sophia walks and is not dependent upon any school of thought." I love that. I love the connection between Sophia and Gnosticism, and the fact that direct knowing and experience is what will make the transformative difference to us and to our place in this world. So why does it matter? What is matter? It's also related to Sophia, to the mother, to mater, and that we are the heart of the matter. We as humans, and the Gnostics call us anthropos, the potential human, we as anthropos matter in this story, and that we need to take our place in this story in order that the fruition of it, the completion of it, the realization of it comes to be. We're not passive in this time of the world. We need to be embodied, active, intelligent, fully realized humans. So important to take our place in this story. There's a few premises that we have about why this matters, and hopefully a few outcomes that people will at least be able to consider. And that is that the earth is a living being. That's not a metaphor. It actually is a living being, and this story tells us how that could be envisioned. Now, again, not that it historically happened, but it's a myth that gives credibility to how Earth became as part of the living being of Sophia in her exploration. It's a galactic story. It's not just the creation of the world. It actually is in relationship to where we are in the galaxy, and that also feels relevant. Our focus has often been so small on our planet and our issues, but we are part of a much bigger co-creation. And when you consider that there's somewhere between 200 and 400 billion galaxies out there, it puts it in perspective that yes, it's all happening here, and it's a very big story. But this is our home, this is our planet, and this is the story we are all co-creating. So as we begin again, the request is to recognize this as a myth, is something that invites you to experience all parts of it as yourself, as if it were a dream. And you are all parts of the story, and that they're going on all the time. And if there's anything in it that you don't particularly feel resonant with, just let that go and find a place that perhaps speaks to you with the ideal outcome that it helps you to create a better sense of who you are in this story. As Thomas Berry said, we need a new story, and we need to create the sense of meaning as a human in the story. Enjoy. Identify with the ineffable one, the incomprehensible oneness. No light, no senses, only a potential of being. Perhaps it's warm, an inner generation of heat, the beginning of an inaudible murmur that perhaps begins to roll and resound through a vastness not bound by space or time, because they do not exist yet. An indefinable utterance echoes throughout a limitless emptiness. Feel it pulsing and spiraling from this silent sonar field. Infinite droplets of pure light emerge, open and unfold into a spiraling dream of luminosity, like a flower opening in a thunderous flash. Creation begins to ignite the darkness. Swirling spirals of dancing light, decorating infinity. Experiencing this mythic imagination as though it were unfolding within you as you watch, perhaps as you awaken each morning from a dream. This world in between sleeping and waking is full of swirling light, not yet embodied, a field of consciousness awaiting expression through you. We are all the aspects of this dream, as Sophia, the first idea of creation, the emanation of limitless light. Envision or imagine the white fire core of the galaxy, producing the pattern of a toroidal movement pouring through the intensity of the galactic center, a potent mass of power, light, and activity. The force of creation emerges from the absolute aloneness of the ineffable one upon the lace pattern and proportion of the field of geometry, the field that supports all manifestation. This creative force has an intense longing for two-ness, that is, for the experience of and with another. From two-ness arises the power of multiplicity, by which the original absolute one enters into the play and the outpouring as the universal all. Appearing as a galactic spiraling movement of our own Milky Way galaxy, we take our place in the infinite universe. The Gnostics call the core of this universal process the pleroma, this white fire core, pleroma meaning fullness or the thoughts of God or the original idea. This pattern is similar to the look of a cell in our own physical body. We can feel and connect with this power of life as the origins within your own self. Imagine now the serpent-like torrents of energy, massive, writhing energies in the core of the galaxy. These energies become distinct as the one begins exploring being. These energies, massive and torrential, are known in the Gnostic texts as the aeons, a Greek word meaning emanation, time, cycle, process. The aeons manifest sensory worlds through dreaming. The one creates multiple emanations in the pleroma, each with a masculine, feminine polarity, sort of the yin and yang vortices. They're always in movement, vitally interpenetrating each other. These aeons form pairs, which are called syzygies. Together, these emanations begin to project a thought form. A seed is formed from the geometries that underlie all creation. And the pleromic dreaming was to cultivate this seed towards an imaginal being called anthropos, the possible human. This dreaming of all the aeons perhaps resembles a group of gardeners facing a fertile, empty field. How might they design a place of beauty, a potential home for humanity? The aeons seed their imagination as an energy of gold that takes form across untold spans of time in the outer reaches of the galaxy, 28,000 light years from the core. The aeons look beyond the radiant core to the place where that seed of life is perfect. Not too far, not too close to the heat of the galactic center. Among the emanations in the galactic core, there exists one coupling that the Gnostics referred to as Christos, Sophia. Sophia, as the feminine, was curious, interested, enthralled, and intensely allured by the possibility for creation that existed in this golden seed of Anthropos. She begins to travel by herself, her attention so riveted on this experiment in the outer arm of the galaxy that she unwittingly passes through a veil with unexpected consequences. Being that she is a primal force of creation, an emanation of divinity itself, she unexpectedly gives birth to a distorted life form the Gnostics call Yaldabaoth. He who then assumed himself to be the God who created it all, and who had no other gods before him, was thrown out from her light form, along with other creations of his intention, which are represented here as imperfect geometries. They become robotic, mechanized aspects of the creation. This is a vision of how the fall into matter, a fall into time and space, into the forces of gravity might be explained. Sophia falls. It's not a sin, it's no shame. But the laws are different here than they are in the galactic core. We're going to pause for just a minute and talk a little bit about the archons. I partly love this story because it's one of the only creation myths that actually speaks about the creation of a negative energy in our solar system. And yet many traditions have names for this energy. They're called the archons in this Greek myth, which translates to Lord. Other words have been the Anunnaki, the Watchers. The Bible refers to the Nephilim, the Asuras, Ahrimanic beings. Many traditions recognize there is an energy that has an influence on this planet that's quite powerful. And the Gnostics were very specific that the characteristics of these archonic beings were very clearly related to robotization, mechanization, and the fact that they were masters of what's called simulacrum. They could create a perfect imitation of something, but it wasn't the thing itself. So if an archon created a pearl, might be a perfect plastic pearl, looked just like a pearl, but it isn't a pearl. It doesn't have the energy and the quality of pearlness, but that's not meaningful to them. Simulacrums were as good as the real thing. It's a key point when you look at what's going on in the world. A lot of imitation of the real thing. A sunset might be another experience of simulacrum. If you can feel it as you're watching the sun go down, and the warmth and the quality of the breeze on your skin, and you're experiencing the amazing change of color, the shift in light. Very different than if you're watching it on a screen. It might be a beautiful vision of a sunset on a screen. It's very different. The direct experience might be the Gnostic experience. The simulacrum through mechanization is more the archonic experience. I personally don't make archons into evil. I make them as an aspect of myself, as in this myth, something in me that actually is related and can appreciate and work with the tools of mechanization, technology, etc. But important that they don't become my God, right? So the God of technology that I might worship at every day, very different than to go out and sit with a tree and be with the sun. It has to be in balance. So within this myth, there's a few very key quotes of what happens when Sophia realizes that she has violated one fundamental principle, which might even be one of the only laws of creation in the universe, and that's in the generation of organic life, there needs to be the balance masculine, feminine. And in her enthusiasm, she penetrates the veil and unintentionally creates without the balance of her masculine Christos self. And so that yin-yang balance is disturbed, but she's a powerful emanating goddess. So there still is a creative energy that is thrown off of her. And her story then continues because she is responsible for having made this creation. So the text has this wonderful quote in the hypostasis of the archons. Hypostasis is a word that basically means the personhood. So the personhood of the Lord, hypostasis of the archons, which is in the Nag Hammadi text. And they write that this violent eruption of alien life forms was something like an abortion, a spontaneous miscarriage of divine power. And this creation was a surprise to Sophia herself. And it also brings into call what it might mean for her to be falling, so that she falls into time and space, has this experience in the density of matter in this outer arm of our galaxy. And now she's in a different field of creation. And perhaps one of the key quotes in the texts at this point, when Sophia and Yaldabaoth are having an interaction, she looks at him in her full radiant power and she says, "You are mistaken, blind one. There is an immortal child of light who came into this realm before you and who will appear among your duplicate forms in your simulated world. Humanity exists, and the offspring of the human strain exists. And in the consummation of all of your works, its entire deficiency of truth will be revealed and dissolved in this luminous child." Anthropos, that luminous child that we each are, who will play a key part in the dissolution of these archonic beings in our organic, beautiful world. Back to the story. Faced with the artificial world system of the archons, Sophia slowly transforms from her pleromic form into a dense material body. The intensity of her divine light diminishes, but a celestial light comes to her aid. The cosmologies in the Nag Hammadi text describe a complex set of events in which the Aeon Sophia aligns her power with a newborn star who bears witness to her encounter with Yaldabaoth, the Lord Archon. And this star, called Sabaoth, is our sun. The sun glorifies Sophia, and Sophia in return pours upon the sun a light of her own divine light to assist his recognition and his condemnation of the Lord Archon. Sophia, in order to redeem her action that created the Archons, determines to become the earth. Sophia does not create the earth, she becomes it. Loaded with inorganic sediment from the galactic limbs, her massive currents of cosmic light convert into the elements of a planet. Her cosmic galactic fire becomes the heat of the fires that warm the condition for life, which eventually is designed to include a home for the golden seed of Anthropos, the golden child. The elements become expressions of her body and of her being. And we imitate her in our own physical bodies, the ways that we experience the elements, earth, air, fire, and water, because we are also made from the same substance. Sophia is transforming from a pleromic emanation in the fire of the galactic core to the fire and the air of the elements in a different density of the creation. It's all an experiment for her. The winds of creation are exploring this expression of life in this density of existence. It's a dance, a play, witnessed by the great beings in the pleroma, all without judgment, all with the great interest as seeds of life are creating unexpected beauties in Gaia Sophia's expression of the elements, of weather, of power. The water of life gives rise to movement and emotion and passions. A rushing spontaneity of that which is a vital constituent of the fluids of all living things: water, ice, steam, snow, fog, dew, so many forms and expressions. Water covers 71% of Earth's surface. It is a miracle of life on this planet. It's also capable of holding impressions of thought and projections of energy and carrying them across the face of the earth. Sophia's bones and structure, the density and rock, come into form as patterns of earth, ground, land, and crystalline structures. They take shape through the atoms and molecules arranging themselves in symmetry. Faces and facets, reflective of the underlying geometry of all creation. Geology, giving rise to growth and life forms. The history of earth and rocks that register the biological changes that Gaia Sophia undergoes. The goddess Sophia produces a world and a habitat for a multitude of life forms and species, creating at a prodigious rate life force moves through the elements to create the diversity of cell structure, microbes, sea life, beings who swim, eyes that see, and creatures that live, birds, mammals, all the thoughtful life on this planet, all different expressions of the body of Sophia. Including that original seed expression of anthropos, the potential of human being realized as divinity envisioned us on this planetary body. We find our place in consonance with this creation, holding lines of light, reweaving the pattern of Sophia's own intelligence as we stand on the high mountain tops, reweaving connection, reweaving integration, and remembering her dreaming. We are the immortal child of light, Anthropos, who embodies the direct knowing that when Anthropos remembers the first origin, all Mother, all Father, Sophia Christos at the galactic core, cosmic balance is restored in this world, and we take our place in this story's continued unfolding.